radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Yeah, man, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, today's Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. 11 days into the new year, only 354 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful in here. I will never stop saying that. Yeah, man. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Very excited about the show tonight. We have very special guest, Emily Harrison, joins us for the first time. I love first-time guests. I love first-time callers. Tonight, Emily Harrison is here. We are going to be discussing the Akashic Records, one of my favorite subjects, and this is going to be a great one tonight. I can feel it coming. Tomorrow night, right here, Serena Wright-Taylor and Susan Slaughter. They are both going to be here. We're going to talk about the 2022 Conscious Life Expo. And, you know, Serena's one of the producers there, and she's great. We all love Serena. And I kind of talked Serena into doing a little astrology tomorrow night with me. So we're going to do some of that, too, as well. And then Susan Slaughter is back with us, and she is, for the first time, is going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. They've got her fully booked up. She's doing 4 separate events, and we're going to be talking about that and, of course, what she has been up to. She is one of the great paranormal investigators that I know, and she will be with us tomorrow night, too, as well. And then Thursday night is another Fader night, with open lines all night long. Now, everybody wants their own crystal skull. Maybe it's your first, maybe it's your second, maybe you're adding to a nice large family. You want to go to Carolyn Ford's website. It is EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com, and the links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. We've got it in social media, and there's a reason for this. Now, promo code Jimmy will get you 10% off of your next Crystal Skull order today. So go and do that. But I just received a new Crystal Skull from Carolyn Ford. That's right. And I have left it boxed up. That was a tough call today. And tomorrow I'm going to do a live unboxing. And we'll do it tomorrow during the day. And Now, I've been debating. So you guys tell me how you want me to do this. Do you want me to do this live? Do a live stream? Do we do that? Which I can. Or do we video and then post the video? You know, how I think the last time I did it, did I go live? I can't even remember how we did that. I think I shot a video. I might have shot a video. I you know what? I can't remember now. I was thinking about that today. I was thinking, was it a live stream or was it a video? Anyway, I'm going to unbox it tomorrow. And if I should do it live. Okay? And you know what? Maybe I should. I like the edginess of live streaming. I like the edge. And I don't like taping interviews. I'm a different person. Live, you've got that adrenaline, that thing that happens live. So I'm going to unbox it live tomorrow. I haven't seen the skull. It's completely boxed up. So I'm going to open that thing up. Peanuts are going to fly. and we're going to do this live tomorrow. Okay, so... and this is from Carolyn Ford. You're going to see this live tomorrow. You're going to want to go to Einstein, the Crystal Skull, and get yourself one. Incredible. She's got the best stuff. All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Yeah. Somebody, where did I see this? Somebody asked me. Oh, it was in an email. I got an email yesterday. Hey, Jimmy, man, is that a Tascam microphone? Yes, it is. I was like, I didn't reply to it. I thought, what a strange email, and how good of a night. Yes, this is to whoever sent me the email. This is a Tascam TM70. Okay, I didn't reply to the email, but maybe you're watching now. It's a Tascam TM70. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. It is live right here. Triscale says go live. Jimmy, absolutely live unboxing. Yes, unbox that baby, Jimmy. It was a live stream. It was. Okay. Do it live, live stream. Okay, all right, okay. Well, that's 100%. That's 100% right there. No question about it. Okay, I'll do it live. I'll do it live tomorrow. And hello to everybody. How you doing? I can't wait for the show tonight. It's going to be great. Emily Harrison is with us. Akashic Records, one of my favorite subjects. I saw Emily in her show with interview with Ed. And interview or conversation with Reuben Langdon. And I was just so drawn in by Emily, and I reached out to Reuben. I said, I've got to get Emily on the show. We've got to do this. So first chance we've got was tonight, and Emily is with us. All right. Let's get to the breaking news. Astronomers have found, in quotes, a supermassive black hole containing around 200,000 times the mass of our sun. This monster was buried in the dust and gas of a dwarf galaxy. The discovery, presented at a virtual meeting of the American Astronomical Society yesterday, marks one of the first times where scientists were able to observe an obscured black hole harbored in a galaxy that has just several hundred million stars. This particular dwarf galaxy is named MRK 462. The researchers noted that the other such obscured black holes that may be out there, they're missing them from previous surveys because they may have been obscured too. Very interesting news, and you can check out the images now that are out there on the web. The leader of Turkmenistan would like to finally close the gates of hell. That's right. The gates of hell that have burned continuously in the nation's Karakum Desert for 5 decades. What exactly are the gates of hell? The pictures are amazing. Also known as the Darvaza gas crater, the gates are a large hole in the desert measuring roughly 230 feet wide and at least 65 feet deep. Excavation of the hole began in 1971 during a Soviet drilling operation to extract gas. Disaster struck when the ground beneath the drill rig collapsed and the rig itself plunged into a natural gas cavern. Geologists decided to set the crater on fire, estimating that the gas would only burn for a few weeks. That was 50 years ago. So they're setting plans now to extinguish this thing. Well, the Federal Aviation Administration said today that it briefly paused departures at some West Coast airports last night, a precaution that occurred nearly at the same time as a North Korean ballistic missile launch. Yesterday's missile test, the second known North Korean launch in a week, originated from the northern province of Jagang and traveled 430 miles before plunging into the East Sea. Last week, Pyongyang said it successfully conducted a test of a sophisticated hypersonic missile. I don't think it was too hypersonic. The past 7 years have been the hottest on record, according to new data from the EU's satellite system. The Copernicus Climate Change Service said 2021 was the 5th warmest year with a record-breaking heat in some regions. The Copernicus data comes from a constellation of Sentinel satellites that monitor the Earth from orbit, as well as measurements taken at ground level. Now, archaeologists working in the deserts of Oman have uncovered an ancient stone board game in a Bronze Age settlement that were likely played about 4,000 years ago. The game board, which was found buried within the remains of a room, sports at least 13 marked squares, each with a central indentation. Its closest modern equivalent would be backgammon. That's right. To play this game, you roll dice, you move your pieces around the board until you exited the board, just like backgammon. And finally, I'm going to leave you with this. An asteroid, estimated to be 1 kilometer wide, will fly by Earth in 7 days. On January 18th, it will pass within 1.2 million miles of our planet, moving at 47,344 miles per hour. The approaching asteroid is known as 74821994 PC1 and was discovered in 1994. And it's the closest the asteroid will come to us for the next 200 years. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, jazz great Lee Ritenour. Yeah, he is 70 years old. The Bangles' Vicki Peterson today is 64. And our dead guy's birthday today is Clarence Clements. 1942 to 2011, died at the age of 69. Clarence was, from 1972 until his death in 2011, the saxophonist for the E Street Band. It all happened back in 1972 when Bruce Springsteen began recording his debut album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. And during breaks from recording, he jammed with Clarence at the Ship Bottom Lounge in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. When Bruce decided to use sax on the songs Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night, he called Clements. The rest is history. Clarence suffered a brain aneurysm from a blood clot forming after hand surgery on June 12, 2011, and died from it 6 days later at the age of 69. Happy birthday, Clemens. Man, unreal. On this day in history, 1964, the U.S. Surgeon General, Luther Terry, announces a definitive link between smoking and cancer. He chose to release it on January 11th, 1964, because that day was a Saturday. That's right. He said he did it to limit its immediate effects on the stock market. U.S. Surgeon General, 1964. Fader fact. Listen to this. In 1993, a Frenchman, his name was Émile Loray, his Citroën 2CV broke down in the Sahara Desert. Now, stuck in the Sahara Desert for 12 days, he tore the car apart and built a motorcycle from the parts to escape dying from the elements. So he rode the motorcycle, that's right, back to civilization. When he arrived in Morocco, he was ticketed for operating an illegal vehicle. And that is your Fader fact. You should check out the pictures of Emil with his bike, man. He pulled it off. Took that 2CV apart and built a motorcycle in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Limited on food and water and everything. And he built this thing, man. It's pretty cool looking. You should. It's totally Mad Max. You should see the pictures. I saw a picture of him posing with it in like 2012, 2013. And wow, incredible. Tonight, we have very special guest Emily Harrison is here for the first time. We are going to be discussing the Akashic Records. Tomorrow night, Serena Wright-Taylor and Susan Slaughter are with us. We're going to be talking about the 2022 Conscious Life Expo. It's coming up now, February 4th through the 7th. The links for the Conscious Life Expo are below in the video description box. You can also go to consciouslifeexpo.com and get your tickets info. Check out the schedule there. I want to remind everybody, it's going to be great. Friday night, I'm going to host the Ancient Secrets panel that I do every year. The keynote thing going down on Friday night. It's always amazing, and I love it. But for me now, the highlight of the weekend is Expo's Got Talent, the talent show on Saturday night. You're not going to want to miss it. It is so cool, and you'll see when you get there. You're going to go. You're going to learn a lot all weekend long, but you're going to remember Expo's Got Talent. It's a great lineup this year. It's the biggest show, the biggest conference of the year. And tomorrow night, we're going to cover all of that. And I just want you guys to attend, have a great time. But don't miss Expo's Got Talent. All right. Then Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Let me hit this River Moon coffee. I never thought that I would have the opportunity in life to grow up and sell my own coffee. Well, River Moon coffee. But my picture's on it. It's incredible. The coffee is amazing. It is. It truly is. But man, what an honor and a privilege to be a coffee salesman. It's amazing. River Moon Coffee. RiverMoonWellness.com. Yeah. All right. Now, I want to have some fun. I talk about things that I watch, and I recommend the good stuff. I don't recommend the bad stuff. I don't do it. But I'm a connoisseur of all things visual and art, books, documentaries, film, television. If it's good, I'm going to let you know. And right before the show tonight, my good friend Lisa Reed and I were chatting. We were chatting about Expo's Got Talent. And here's the deal. In the middle of this conversation with Lisa, I said, hey, have you seen... And she came back with, you know what, my daughter said I need to check that out. I said, you do. And so I'm going to talk about that in a second. But because when I recommend something, especially to a friend, I know it's good. And I don't want my said friend to come back to me later and go, you know what, church, never recommend anything to me ever again. I don't want that to happen. So I weed it out. And when I come around to, which brings me to this, Cobra Kai. Now, I'm assuming that most of us have seen The Karate Kid. And The Karate Kid 2, which was actually pretty good. Now, of course, right? And it's part of our childhood. Big film in the 80s, both of them. So Netflix introduced Cobra Kai with Ralph Macchio as Danny LaRussa and William Zabka, man, the guy you just love to hate, right, as Johnny Lawrence. And it's 5 seasons, 4 seasons, 5 seasons. I avoided it. There was no way that I was going to enjoy this. There is no way that is even going to be close to The Karate Kid. And I managed to, over the last few weeks, in between everything, to binge all of the seasons. And I just wrapped the last season. I think it's five seasons. I could be wrong. 4, 5 new seasons coming out. You've got to check out Cobra Kai. And for all of the reasons, and Ralph Macchio's great, and he has really grown up to be just amazing as an adult, but as a person. But William Zabka, I gotta say, he, growing up, Karate Kid, you just didn't like this guy. He played the character too good. And what they have done with Cobra Kai is amazing. And to do this kind of storytelling for this many seasons, just go and watch Cobra Kai. Next, and I'm just going to say this, and I said this to Lisa earlier, I know I'm just a hardcore OG, just rough and tumble dude, but Emily in Paris, also on Netflix. I cannot stop watching this show. It's amazing. Now, it's, look, just the name, right? Emily in Paris. Okay, I get that. It's not fluff. There are some extreme adult moments in this, but it is the cinematography. The writing is incredible. I'm going to say Lily Collins as Emily Cooper. She's just amazing. She is an extreme talent. You owe it to yourself to check out Emily in Paris. I've said it. I'm on the record, and I'm okay with it. Next, though, Condor. Now, it's on Epix. 3 Days of the Condor, and going back to Robert Redford and what that film means to me, to remake this, because there's 2 books, 3 Days of the Condor and 6 Days of the Condor, to remake this into a TV series, that's a challenge. But this stars Max Irons as Joseph Turner, and it is extraordinary. So if you don't have Epix, you're out. But if you want to get Epix, that's fine. Condor is incredible. I don't want to say the when, the how, or how this went down, but I met Max Irons through his dad, Jeremy Irons, probably back in 2008, 2009. And I don't want to get into those details, but I hung out with Max for like 4 days that week. And he was probably 20-something, 21, 22 years old. He was a kid. And there was something, and now he's the star of Condor. And I felt like I got to know him pretty well back then. I just spent like 3-4 days with him. But wow. So check out Condor. And I think that we've all seen 3 Days with the Condor and how great of a film that was, and a story. You know, it's the CIA, it's an agent, he's on the run. That's what's going on here in a modern context. It's really well done. So you owe it to yourself. Those are my 3 recommendations this week. Cobra Kai, Emily in Paris, and Condor. That's right, Emily in Paris. You know what? And I was just earlier this week, I'm watching Emily in Paris, and I'm thinking to myself, am I going to admit to this? Yes, I am. It's too good. It's just too good. It's an amazing series. So check it out. Emily in Paris. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, we have very special guest, Emily Harrison is here. We're going to be talking about the Akashic Records tonight. Tomorrow night, Serena Wright-Taylor and Susan Slaughter talking about the 2022 Conscious Life Expo. It's coming up in less than 3 weeks, February 4th through the 7th. I'll be hosting all weekend long. This Thursday is another Fader night with open lines. I'm hanging out with you. That's right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Emily Harrison. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. GetTheT.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. GetTheT.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com. The tea that makes you go.
The new KUNXDB, the UNX Network, bringing you the best in paranormal programming in premium high-definition streaming audio and video. Log on to the network at unxnetwork.com and check out the growing lineup of programs, including Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and many more. Sign up for the free UNX newsletter, follow the UNX blog, or pick up the latest edition of the UNX magazine. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So check us out at unxnetwork.com. Tap the show page and the calendar so you never miss your favorite live shows and podcasts. We are your portal for all things paranormal. The X, explaining the unexplained.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Emily Harrison joins us for the first time. We're going to be talking about the Akashic Records all night tonight. I'm very excited about this conversation. Tomorrow night, Serena Wright Taylor and Susan Slaughter join us. And then Thursday night, of course, is Fader night with open lines all night long. But tonight, it's all about Emily. Emily is the founder, the director of the Akashic Academy, a modern-day mystery school dedicated to sharing knowledge that is empowering the planet to resource, are you ready? Superconscious intelligence from within. After being featured on CBS, NBC, HBO, Lifetime, Netflix, Thrive, and at Harvard University, Emily is now creating quantum in-person experiences within the most profound grid points on the planet so people can experience accelerated activation and embodiment of their soul mission. Her links to the Akashic Academy are right there on social media. We have them over on the website. And now I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Emily Harrison. Emily, good evening. How are you? Okay, now, Emily, I don't have you. Oh, no, we have no audio. I'm watching Emily scramble. This is great. Keep going. Keep talking. I'll let you know when we have you. This is great. No, I don't have you. And we just did the most amazing sound check before. Did you mute yourself? No? Okay, check the front. Check the front of the mic. No, the front, the mute button that you did before. Nope. Oh. Okay, what is going on? Okay, go to your settings, and this is just great. We just had the most amazing sound check, and she sounds amazing. And everything is the same? She's going, yes. Oh, man. I'm wondering if I should just take a quick break and come back. What do you think we should do, Emily? You want to take a break? Let me see. I don't have. You are live. Yes, no, maybe. We
check 1, 2.
Yes.
We're back?
Yes, we're back. Okay.
What a grand entrance.
Yes, and here's the bad news. Tap on the microphone. Yeah, we're listening to the laptop mic, which is fine.
Oh.
Okay.
That's stupid.
Okay. Now go to your settings and select that microphone. Watch this. It's going to work now.
No, my screen is just frozen.
Oh,
there we are. Okay.
Oh, here we go. This is great. This is live.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, there you go. Emily, how are you?
A grand entrance. That's how I like to come in like this. I am so honored to be here. You can feel the magic, Jimmy Church. I feel super welcome for the first time.
Yeah.
In your house here. Thanks for having me.
Well, here's the deal. You also get the first time guest disclaimer. And I'm not going to forget about that. I almost got distracted. Which is this, Emily, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. Are you ready?
Deal. I'm ready.
Deal. I am, I live, well, I don't live in Burbank now, but lived in Burbank for years, the Valley, Hollywood. I'm a part of the culture. I love cinema. I love television. It's something that I talk about a lot on the show. And that's an interesting part of your life that we're going to get to in just a second. But I want to jump before, because we're going to talk about how you got to Hollywood. But where did you grow up?
Your telepathy is so good, my friend.
Yes.
That's where I wanted to start too, because, well, actually, I'm gonna create a little bit of context before I answer that question, because this is the first time that I get to be here and share the Akashic Records. I want everyone to know that when the Akashic Records presents itself in your field, such as a conversation that we're about to have tonight, when it comes into your awareness, there's bigger reason, there's unfolding, there's revelation for you. And we're going to talk more about what the records are in a little bit. But the records are basically a field of data. And what happens is we begin to see patterns as we look at this data. So I just want to invite everyone to, as I share the story about where I grew up and how I got to Hollywood, to see the patterns in the energy, and I'll do my best to point them out as we go. So how's that sound?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So to answer your question, I grew up in a really small town on the Mississippi River, Louisiana, Missouri. When I was growing up in this small town, Jimmy, I did not recognize the energetic and geographical significance that I recognize now. I felt like I felt like a hick in a small town. What I realize now is I grew up right on the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River is one of the 4 main tributaries of consciousness. In this small town, the Underground Railroads ran in cave systems and tunnels. And it has so much symbolic significance for me now, recognizing that leading people to freedom is such an important part of what I get to do. But I had no idea growing up in a small town. And I think so many of us have a similar experience wherever it is that we're growing up, whether it is a small town or a big town. It's like we're encouraged to think inside of the box for our own safety. I also find that there's generational stuckness that tends to happen. And I definitely felt oppressed growing up in this really small town. I can remember feeling like even changing my hair felt very, very risky. Everyone had permed hair. And I remember when I went straight, and that day that I came to school, what happened to your hair? And it's just like there, it's like we become robots that become incapable of thinking for ourselves and stepping outside of the box by these little things that happen in our life based on the circumstances. And so I grew up in a small town feeling very much like if I were to step too far outside of the box, that wasn't really going to be okay. And I didn't really feel like I got to experience myself as a full creator being. You know, I felt very encouraged to play small. Like it just it felt so much safer. And I also recognize that there was a very rebellious part of me, I'm a Gemini, that wanted to break outside of this box. I mean, I grew up in this small town, immersed in the church. My mama was a Sunday school teacher, Jimmy. Ooh. So I was all up in church Sunday morning and Sunday night. And on Wednesday night, I went to youth camp and Bible school. And I was also sneaking out of my house and drinking out with my friends and living what felt like two different lives. And it creates duality within us, right? So in that time growing up in this small town, these were all the real human patterns of energy that I was dealing with. And I think that so many of us deal with. And we get to a place where we begin to feel really restless. So for me, that looked like in college, I remember feeling the more I took steps inside the box and making decisions for my life that felt safe but very icky. I remember not feeling inspired. I remember feeling like there was something more.
Were you scared? Does that that future that you were staring down at, did that kind of scare you?
Yeah, I think it scared me. I think it sickened me. I think it disgusted me in a lot of ways. Just it felt so not why I was not why I came to the planet. I don't know. There was growing up in that small town as well. I feel like I remember some psychic abilities being really young, but not being in a place where there was culture around intuition or cultivating our intuition. Those things were shut down. I'm sure like a lot of the audience can relate.
We all can. Yeah. And so you didn't have an avenue or an outlet to talk about these things.
I didn't. I had outlets that I could express myself where I definitely felt more aligned with spirit. Like I talked about growing up in the church, a lot of that doctrine I really wanted to fight against. However, I remember being in church when the singing would happen or when we would all be praying together and there would be a shifting consciousness that was sincere to my soul, and I could feel that. So there was definitely a part of me that acknowledged spirituality at a very young age. And then there was a part of me that rebelled against how it was brought into my field. And I rebelled against just having to be what anybody else told me I needed to be. Right. I needed to express in a different way. I felt good when I was dancing. I felt good when I was hiking. All things that I didn't understand at that point in time. But these are ways that the human can move back into a higher frequency of consciousness and connect with our soul. So there are clues along the way. But I didn't have the capacity to put it all together by any stretch. But I do remember being in college and coming home from a very freaking uninspiring day, and I was sitting at a stoplight. And there's something that happens when we're driving and you actually pause at a stoplight. It's the brainwaves that you're using, and you kind of go on automatic pilot. And there was a gateway that opened, a shift in my consciousness, and I received a download, an embodiment. All of a sudden, I had this deep realization that my life was mine, and if I wasn't enjoying what I was creating and experiencing, I needed to create something different. And it was like in that moment, I decided to pull the plug on life in Missouri and move to Hollywood and become an actress.
Now, were you studying acting at the time?
No.
Really?
No.
Wait a minute. You weren't, you're in school, no aspiration, nothing, no acting?
Here's how the acting bit came along. In college, I had a job waiting tables, which I made decent money waiting tables, but I also recognized if I sign up with this modeling agency down the street, I bet I can make some more money doing that. And so I went down the street and I signed up for it to the local modeling agency and began to do some modeling jobs. And there was an opportunity for a modeling convention on the East Coast one summer. And so I signed up to go to this modeling convention. But it was actually it was modeling and acting. So I figured, well, what the hell? Since I'm here for modeling, I might as well do all the acting stuff too. And there were like competitions that we could do. And so I did the runway competition and the print competition and maybe the spokesmodel competition. And there were 3 acting ones. There's a commercial one and a sitcom one and a dramatic one. So I figured, what the hell? And I ended up meeting Patrick Rush, who at that time had just finished casting Party of 5. And he pulled me aside and he said, I had the hardest time casting this role. It was a role that went to Neve Campbell. But he said, man, I would have brought you in for that in a second. I brought you in. I had no idea what brought you in.
Right.
I was intrigued, right? And so as soon as he starts dripping these stories and aspirations, like seeding this into my field about going to Hollywood, I'm like, yes, that sounds way better than what I'm doing right now. I'm in. And so I pulled the plug on life in Missouri and hightailed it to Hollywood.
So it's the classic story. This conversation isn't about me, but I nearly did the same exact thing. I just one day, for whatever those reasons were, I was done with Indianapolis. I was done, and I was 20. I don't think I was 21 yet, and I just jumped on a plane the next day and flew to Hollywood. Didn't know anybody. Well, I had a couple of friends out here but that was it, right? And we've all seen this movie before, right? So you just did you know anybody in Hollywood?
Not a soul.
So no. What was the first thing when you got to Hollywood? What did you?
I had like a step cousin-in-law once removed in Orange County.
Mm-hmm. And is that where you lived first?
That's where I landed first. And then I set up appointments to look at apartments in Hollywood. And within about a week, I had my first little place. It was on Beechwood Canyon. I could see the Hollywood sign from one window. And from the other window, I could see Capitol Records.
Right.
And I remember I felt so slick because I would just stare out the window at night. And I missed my Missouri roots a little bit. I mean, I was pleased with myself for, landing.
No. Beechwood Canyon is a pretty good start.
It's a pretty classic grid point there in Hollywood to land, right?
Yeah, awesome. I lived on Beechwood Canyon. And
we have so much in common.
Yes.
I know we've known each other from other timelines.
Well, here's the deal. When you go up to the top of Beechwood, there's a stone arch there that says Hollywood Land. And I lived in the house in front of that. Right? So I would walk out, there's the Hollywood sign, the ranch market across the street with the coffee shop at the top of Beechwood. And that is a pretty cool place to hang out. Beechwood from the top to the bottom is iconic.
It's a great place to hang out. Les Bourgeois Pig.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
So then what was your game plan? Did you have a game plan?
No, I was winging it the whole time. Just absolutely winging it. I figured that getting a job waiting tables was probably the best thing to do. However, and I had some connections to a swanky place in Beverly Hills, but it took a hot second for that to come through. So the very first job that I had once I got to Hollywood was working at the Gap right off Rodeo Drive, folding khakis for 8 hours a day. It was tough. But I do remember Diane Keaton came in one day and she said, you're about my size. Will you try on clothes for me? And I got to take an hour off of being on the floor folding the khakis and try on clothes for Diane Keaton, which was pretty fun.
That doesn't suck.
But pretty quickly, I got the job at around the corner in Beverly Hills, a swanky hotspot, Kate Mantilini.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Immediately, I was in the middle of all of the happenings going on in Hollywood, agents and producers and managers. And at that point, I pretty much had access to divine helpers.
So,
allies.
Before we get to the break, and I find this very interesting, it's a difficult step that most people don't understand. Do you try to get an agent to go out and get work, or do you get work and then have an agent find you? It's very tough. I went through many years in Hollywood without an agent. Now I can't get work without him, right? So it's just like, it's a strange thing. So what happened next? Did you get an agent or did you get work first?
I walked into a mall and I think my first manager found me and sent me to an audition for an independent movie, Puppet Master 6.
Right
and
on.
I landed my first lead role. My face is getting a little bit red.
Yes, it is.
Puppet Master 6, I landed my first lead role within a month. I'm the alchemist. I am the story of the Midwest girl who pulls the plug on life and gets off the bus and comes to seek her fame and fortune. Like the alchemist, I had a lot of beginner's luck, but I learned very quickly as well that I was working in a very high level of skill. I mean, acting requires a lot of skill, and I didn't have the skill that I necessarily needed. So I needed to learn a lot of things. And I needed to learn to see myself differently because I had jumped into a completely new paradigm. And as a human, I needed different thought constructs.
Right. And we're going to kind of wrap this section here. We're going to come back after the break. But you left an acting career. And
I did.
I mean, and things, I went and looked at your IMDb page, everybody does these days, and it was all right there. That's a career.
Yeah.
And then 2013, 2014 rolls around, and there must have been something there. We'll talk about it after the break, but some paradigm shift, some dramatic moment, we're talking about drama, that suddenly you decided to walk away from Hollywood. What happened?
In seeking those new thought constructs and those new skills that really allowed me to get all those jobs that you saw on my IMDb page, it required an evolution of my consciousness, meditation, cultivating my subtle energy body, which included rigorous meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong. And so while I was doing this to get better at acting, to manage my energy, what was really happening was my consciousness was evolving. And this point that you asked me about was a dramatic turning point when the Akashic Records made themselves very apparent to me and offered a new timeline. And it basically was an afternoon that I wasn't expecting. However, being present with the energy and the opportunity to show up and help somebody else in the quantum field, absolute undeniable psychic skills, 100% turned on. And it made sense to me in that moment that, holy shit, this is a much bigger and better story and experience than I could ever tell in Hollywood. In Hollywood, I was embodying all of these different characters. Here, I was embodying the human experience of a story that if we have awareness that it's going on right now on the planet for every single person who's incarnated right now, you don't want to miss this.
Now, and when this happens, we're going to discuss this much deeper after the break. But when this happens, do you look at yourself? Hollywood's already crazy, right? That's already crazy town. But are you looking at yourself like, wait a minute here? Even for me, this is too much.
Yeah, there are definitely moments along the way that I question myself. Yeah. I think every human does, and we'll hit that more later too, because that's part of the risk that we're invited into, part of the up-leveling that we get to take, part of the journey, part of the testing of ourselves, and eventually it gets better. And eventually we surround ourselves with people like you and like this amazing audience who appreciates and is seeking this level of conversation. But yeah, it was a little scary. I felt a little naked talking about this stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, you would have to. Well, you know, and especially in Hollywood, where you have a mix of serious open-mindedness, right? I mean, where you are around the creative of the creative, and there is an open-mindedness, and then going out at the same time, sometimes around the same people, you cannot discuss this stuff. You can't, and you find yourself holed in. I fought that same battle. I didn't talk about conspiracy stuff in the music industry. I didn't talk about UFOs. I didn't want to be that guy. And it comes to a point where I found it, you found it, where you just don't give a crap anymore. And you know that there's something else out there to be discovered. And you're willing to take that chance. And you did just that. We will talk about all of this and more when we come back after the break. Our guest tonight, Emily Harrison. We are talking about the Akashic Records. I bet you didn't even know what the Akashic Records was. I mean, you've got to go and find this stuff out. It's an amazing journey. We'll do all of that when we come back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Emily Harrison is here. We are discussing the Akashic Records. And just a little recap. Emily, she had a very successful career as an actor in Hollywood. And then one day, all of that changed. And that's where we are with this. And the first question out of the gate is the obvious one. Did you even know or had heard about the Akashic Records?
Yes.
And when this movement started, from Hollywood and leaving all of that behind, how did that come to you?
The records came to me as a gift from my mother 15 years prior. She had given me a Christmas present. Here's an Akashic record session. It's why I started this show by letting you all know when you come into contact with the records, you'll be an opportunity for shift will present itself to you, because there's an activation that happens. And the beginning activation happened for me about 10 years prior. So when my mom gave me this gift of an Akashic record session, I didn't know at that time what the Akashic Records was, so I Googled it, right, and began to do research and learned that the Akashic Records are the realm of consciousness where all information, past, present, all possible futures, has been recorded. And those of us who understand how to shift our consciousness and tap into that realm can extract infinite amounts of information. After the experience that changed everything, I didn't necessarily know it was the Akashic Records at work that day, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. But after that experience, I pretty quickly knew that the Akashic Records would be the mechanism or the technology or the pathway for me to show up and impact the most people. And because I had an innate understanding of how to work in this space and all of the cool tricks that we can do in this space. Once I spent some time learning about the Akashic Records and realized that I wanted to help other people really transform their lives, the remembrance of how to work in the records happened very quickly.
How did you manage to understand it when, including myself, but when most people first learn of the Akashic Records and what they are, it's very confusing, because just trying to wrap your head around the possibility of the Akashic Records even existing, and then what they are and what they represent, then you start to ask the other questions. Where are they? Is this physical? Is this something else? I used to picture it as, I'm not kidding now, rows of filing cabinets somewhere in the clouds, right? And you go up and you open it. I had a hard time digesting what this really was. Did you go through the same process?
I don't think so. Nah, I found that I'm one of the original scrolls of the Akash, one of the original scribes. And so, no, I didn't really go through that same experience. I had an extreme amount of confidence when I came into connection with the records. And I would actually challenge you, based on the story that I just heard you say, share with us, and what I know of how the records work, you have a better understanding than you're giving yourself credit for.
Well, I've studied it, but I'm good. There were, and I've done so many interviews and things, and I had a very difficult time trying to digest it. I really did, trying to understand it. And your definition of the Akashic Records, I thought was amazing. And I actually want to start with that, because even for me, somebody in this audience that has learned about the Akashic Records, even for me, your description of what they are, I learned something. So when we discuss this moving forward, what's your definition of the Akashic Records?
The realm of consciousness, where all information, past, present, all possible futures, exists from a neutral perspective. Neutrality is really important, because as humans, we experience our life in this third dimensional reality through duality, light and dark. It's part of the construct. When we tap into the Akashic Records for information, we're tapping from a space of unconditional love and zero judgment. So that duality that we experience as humans is not the same perspective that we experience in the Akash.
And are they physical?
You keep talking about the skulls.
Yes.
We talked about the Einstein skull, and of course, with Ruben and I work with the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull. Oh yeah. Skull out there. Okay. When I opened the records of the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull,
yep,
I found that the crystal skulls are a physical hard drive of the Akashic Records. For the most part, though, no, the records are not physical. They are located in a variety of different places. They're becoming more physical, though, and I believe that they will become more physical. Here are the places where I know of them to exist. 8th dimension space-time, 8th dimension consciousness. Primarily, this is how I teach people how to tap into the records. What that means is basically we're shifting our brainwaves, we're moving our consciousness into a higher frequency, and then we're trusting the imagination. When we work on those subtle realms, the language that the records speak to us is through our imagination, through our subtle senses. One of the reasons that I'm so good at this is I spent 20 years in Hollywood getting connected to my subtle energy body, had a channel in connecting to characters. Improv acting is so important as we're doing this kind of woo-woo work. It's like a big game of improv. It's with the imagination, right? So these are skills that my 20 years in Hollywood allowed me to cultivate, which was part of the reason I could step into learning the records with so much confidence. But eighth dimension space-time is one of the primary locations of the Akashic Records. However, there is also, what my guides have shown me, there is a replica of the Akashic Records within our DNA. And as our DNA turns back on, scientists talk about us having 12 strands of DNA. 2 of them are active. I believe with you, Jimmy, with the audience here, we likely have a lot more strands activated. We still have more to go. But as these multidimensional strands of DNA become activated, what scientists have called junk DNA, what's really happening is our awareness, our connection, our ability to perceive the subtle realms is also increasing. I believe I was taught one thing in that Southern Baptist church about what the second coming of Christ was. Now, my interpretation of the second coming of Christ, or Yeshua, is when every human has all 12 strands of DNA turned back on. Jesus said, the least amongst you can do all that I have done and more. And he was doing things that currently defy science as we understand it, like multiplying the loaves, walking on the water, raising other people from the dead. He was also incredibly compassionate. I believe that's one of our next areas where we can consciously work as a collective to begin turning on more DNA, is just simply, can we be more compassionate? Right? But I feel like there's an active record within our DNA that is turning on as we as a collective go through this time of conscious awareness, as we're doing the work on ourselves. I believe that we can access the Akashic Records in dream time. Many people stumble on to the records in dream time. I believe that there's an Om multidimensional crystal in the core of Mother Earth that also holds these records. And when I was with Ruben and Bill Homan and a couple more from the Skull Squad, a documentary that Ruben was talking about in Shasta, one of the areas that we went on the mountain was to a vortex location where we located and then together activated this Om multidimensional crystal. So as more of this kind of work is done, more and more people are going to have access from 8th dimension consciousness to the Om multidimensional crystal to our DNA turning back on, to accessing crystal skulls and obtaining crystal skulls. So there are a lot of different ways that we're being invited to connect with the Akashic Records.
That's a beautiful skull, by the way. That's a beautiful skull. Okay, so 8th dimension location, easy to understand. Well, sort of. But then you bring up information and crystals. Is that a physical terra firma side of the Akashic Records too as well, that this information is stored in crystals? And I don't think I'm reaching here, but is that what you're suggesting?
That's what I feel like my guides have shared with me.
Right.
And my understanding is during the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, the Akashic Records existed in physical form on the planet, and were accessible by everyone. However, as we know, that society eventually fell. It was infiltrated by ego and personal gain, and this energy in the wrong hands can create destruction. I believe that during that fall from grace, which was a regression of our consciousness, that the records were physically removed from the planet, and we all, I think that's why we see in modern day times a suppression of this wisdom. This wisdom is hidden. It's surfacing again on the planet right now. But for a long time, we weren't ready for the power that is held within this space. And I will tell you, Jimmy, it's safeguarded. We can't mess it up the way we messed it up before, because depending on how much a soul is willing to love oneself, that is directly connected to how much access each individual will get. So learning to really love and honor the God within so that we can create peace with ourselves and others is what's going to open up more and more access to advanced levels of technology. But until we do the work, we don't unlock it, because we don't raise our consciousness to a frequency where we become a frequency match.
How do we recognize when we accidentally bump into the Akashic Records? And I'm going to give you an example, and I didn't understand it then, but I was 5 or 6 years old, and I had these recurring, not once, recurring visions. I'm 5, I'm 6. I don't really understand what's happening, but I have these recurring visions of myself as an adult sitting in a studio talking on a microphone like I am now with somebody. Now, that didn't make any, I don't know what talk radio is. I have no idea what a studio is, a microphone. But I had this over and over and over again. And that says to me, and I've said this many times since as I grew up, somebody read my book, right? Somebody had access. I don't know who that person or thing was, but it says to me that I was looking at myself as an adult, but I didn't understand. The path was in front of me, but I didn't get it. I was too young. Is that accessing the Akashic Records?
Yes, I feel that you were looking at your potentiality, your probability, the reality that you got to create for yourself. I do believe that the future exists in infinite possibility. Perhaps you were being revealed this information so that you could like what you saw or in some way become a frequency match. That's one way to explain it. I think it's also interesting to explore the potentiality of you bilocating in that moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's another piece to this, though. That's my experience. But I wonder if everybody has that same thing, some vision of themselves in the future that they completely don't understand. They haven't gone to school yet, right? They don't know what they want to do. I wanted to be an astronaut.
Me too. Sorry, that excited me.
So, I had no clue, but I would assume that everybody has this. And when do they recognize it? How do they recognize it?
Hopefully they recognize it. So many people miss this, but here's what's cool. When we have conversations like this, we are beginning to address the problem that's held us back, which is not putting ourselves in the environment where these kinds of ideas and imagination can flourish and we can really understand. So we're shifting massive paradigms right now. But as we get to talk about it, I'm guessing that there are pings going off in the minds of our audience here about when this possibly could have happened to them, and they might have missed it, and it might have been unseen.
Right.
I want to say the records actually was pinging me and wanted me to say this in the very beginning, but I didn't, and so they're bringing it back now. But when I was listening to the news that you were talking about before I came on, and you were talking about the astronomical black hole that scientists now see because of basically like shifting in the galaxy. It was covered by the dwarf star before, but now what was unseen is being revealed, and it was right there all along. This is really a really cool paradigm. What we find, I love that you love astrology too. The astrological and astronomical influences that are happening out in space are creating influence here on the planet. So what I want to invite everyone to see is that Jimmy opened the show setting this context that you are all about to see things that were previously unseen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love that you talk about being 5 years old, because I had a similar incident when I was 5. Mine didn't necessarily look like what I'm doing now, but I had an interaction that I know activated me at that point in time. I remember liking being all tucked under my blankets, hands and feet all in, because it was much safer from the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the hand's out, you might get it. And I remember my hand had slipped out, and I was just in that space of falling asleep. And I remember very specifically the presence of a hand, and it felt very angelic and calm and peaceful and blissful. Came up from under my bed and held my hand. It was blissful for a few moments, and then as my young self came to, I got scared and pulled my arm back in. But that memory was brought back to my awareness later in life, saying, no, this was like a revelation, an activation for you in the future of how you would be able to touch and help and heal humanity. And that divine presence was Archangel Raphael.
When we talk about infinite possibilities, how do we understand that? Right? If there's infinite possibilities, then how do we make the choice?
Well, we can make the choice consciously or unconsciously, but everybody's making a choice. And that is a fantastic question. I can tell you very simply how it works. We become a vibrational frequency match based on our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors and actions. So everything starts as infinite possibility. Okay? The more we give attention to with our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavioral actions, the more we create a frequency within ourselves. It's giving attention to a particular timeline. We are strengthening that timeline. Many times, multiple timelines, like we have infinite possibility, and then multiple timelines move forward into the probability. You can think of like best case scenario, worst case scenario, somewhere in between.
Right.
As you spend time contemplating all of these, you are strengthening your vibrational frequency to those, and they move from the field of infinite possibility into probability. And then we just do the same thing again as we move from the field of probability into our certainty. So the longer we spend rehearsing a vibrational match to a timeline, the faster we create it, and that's what we experience.
It closes in and becomes apparent, right?
Yes.
That frequency is locked in, the infinite possibilities fall away, and the one possibility reveals itself.
Yeah, it manifests in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what's interesting about that before the break. Physics today, I'm talking about science, and those physicists out there are telling us on a daily basis of infinite parallel worlds to the left and to the right, the multiverse, and that there are versions of you and I right now in infinite versions of anything that we can do or say. There are versions of you and I with green hair, for instance, whatever, right? Okay. The question is, if that's the case, which reality is the real one? But science will tell you need to make that decision, right? That is what is going on. And this is exactly what you're suggesting that the Akashic Records are.
Yes, and the answer to that is wherever the majority of our consciousness is focused in the now moment.
When does now become the past, and when does now become the future?
Past and future don't actually exist. They only exist in this human, well, not only in this human construct. There are other systems where linear time is helpful for those beings to process.
Mm-hmm.
But we're working on some specific things as we come to incarnate here in the human form. So, the smaller bandwidth isn't really that big of a deal. It helps us, and we need it here in this space. But time isn't happening linearly. That's not the higher truth. The higher truth is it's happening forward and backward and all at once and all at the same time. But that's a little bit too much of a mind blow for most of us to do our work.
Right.
Not always. Sometimes it's great to hop into that space of multidimensionality. But for the most part, we are incarnating here on this planet to experience ourselves as a singularity of the God personality, moving back into a state of unity, or being able to recognize that we are all reflecting different unique aspects of the God personality, but it's a hologram. It's all the same energy.
Now, what about 45 seconds before the break?
Okay.
How far back? Infinite future, I get that. How far back can we go?
For me, I've only explored back to the Big Bang. And
Okay.
The cool thing is that the sound of silence, like that ringing in your ears that we hear, that's actually echoes of the Big Bang. Everything is energy. Light is a particular frequency that stores and transfers knowledge, just like sound does. Sound stores and transfers knowledge. Cells of light, sound. So when you tap into that frequency of the silence, that ringing in your ears, you're actually, we're tapping into the Akash there too. We are tapping into echoes of the Big Bang. And sound is the primordial energy.
That's fascinating. So you can go back. Okay, we're going to, let's take our break right here. We're going right back to the Big Bang after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Emily Harrison. We are talking about the Akashic Records tonight. It's going to be a great conversation. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, JJ and Desiree Hertog, Sarah Breskman Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Emily Harrison is here. We're discussing tonight the Akashic Records. Tomorrow night, Serena Wright Taylor and Susan Slaughter will be here. We'll be talking about the 2022 Conscious Life Expo. And then Thursday night, of course, is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Before the break, I asked Emily how far back we can go with the Akash, and she said, well, she's been back to the Big Bang. But you said something else that I need to make a note of. You said the ringing in your ears is you're listening to the Big Bang. I want you to know that physics. Okay, when you see, well, you don't see it anymore, but in the old days with an old tube television. And the television station would cease, right, at the end of the night, right? Okay. Another dawn is setting here in Chicago. And then you would have the snow on the screen. Mm-hmm. That's leftovers from the Big Bang, the snow on the screen. How crazy is that?
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay. It just reminded me of that. Well, science talks about this all the time, and the ringing in the ears. That's pretty interesting. I'm going to do my own little research on that one. That was strong. Okay, so and I've got a bunch of questions that have lined up tonight too as well, and. You can post those hashtag F2BQ over on Twitter, everybody. But I've got some pretty interesting stuff here. And one of them relates to what we were just talking about how far back we can go. And Kaz says here, she says, what has Emily learned from the records about us and about our lives and about this planet right now? Are you able to go back and find out, is this stuff from the distant past, the information back, or are you finding out stuff about us today?
Let me just tap in and see what the guides want to bring forward around that, because I've just got like massive downloads coming in. Great question, Cass. Let me just see what's the most pertinent to come in right now. Okay, so here's what I would love to share. On planet Earth, we can trace planet Earth back to, I'm just going to tell you a story, okay? And just receive the story for however it inspires you. Doesn't necessarily have to be true. Doesn't matter if the story is true. This is like reincarnation. It matters if the power of the story changes you. This is why story is so incredibly important for humans, because we have to create our own story anyway. And so I'm going to tell you a great one. Goddess Sophia is the essence soul energy of planet Earth. Goddess Sophia, before she incarnated as planet Earth, was so fully embodied in her Christed consciousness energy, the masculine and feminine coming together, and her ability to create bliss was so profound. She was so embodied in this that she incarnated as a physical planet. Her consciousness incarnated as the physical planet Earth. So each one of us who seek an experience here on the planet, there is a core invitation for us to realize ourselves as this goddess, God creator being here on the planet, okay? What I'm seeing about what's happening on planet Earth right now is that galactically, astronomically, we are in an alignment with Great Central Sun, which is bombarding our planet and our solar systems with photonic light that's coming from the center of the galaxy. And this photonic light also is carrying information from the center of the galaxy, which is this photonic light is speaking to our cells and waking up our DNA. Okay, so we're able to remember more aspects of our consciousness, past life, future life, one way to look at it, all happening all at once right now. That we've talked about both of these concepts tonight, right? Mm-hmm. Here's what's happening right now. It's a great convergence. We have the opportunity with our consciousness to focus it right here, right now in this moment and call all of the archetypes. It's a timeline convergence. So all of these different archetypes of God, goddess, different characters that we learn along the way, the good guy, the bad guy, everything that our soul has learned can be called forward and used at this time to fully embody what was meant for humans on the planet when Goddess Sophia incarnated as this amazing experiment. Now, we do have free will, and 4 times in the history of this planet have we moved in consciousness to that opportunity to ascend into the next level, and we've fallen from grace. So we're, in essence, Atlantis, Lemuria happened. There were a couple before that they're showing me. Maybe, actually that could have been the first one. Couple in between Atlantis and Lemuria until we got to ancient Egypt. The most recent time in our collective history that we would understand or remember sharing the same storyline right now is ancient Egypt was the fall. So what's happening right now for all humans on the planet is an opportunity to remember their ultimate creatorship. And this is the big galactic story that's happening, right? Yet it plays out through specific circumstances, which look like our microcosm, look like what we're experiencing here on the planet right now. And I am sure that every single one of you can see an opportunity where if you stay plugged into the old matrix of control, you will be programmed by fear, but you are actually being invited to reclaim your sovereignty, think original, creative, powerful thoughts, strengthen those with vibrational frequency of emotion, strengthen it with behavior, and move out this shit that we've created together and create something more mindful. It's okay, and by the way, it's okay that we've miscreated, because this is how we learn here. We learn through contrast. So it's not like we've really done anything we didn't fuck up that bad, Jimmy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is how we learn. Mm-hmm. We just need to give ourselves a new thought construct to understand it, because when we think that we fucked up really bad, what's triggered is shame, judgment, fighting. Until we, and here is a fundamental change that I'll invite everyone to take away tonight. within yourself, you must shift from being judgmental to being curious. That microcosmic shift, when you notice that you're judging yourself, you're speaking harshly to yourself, shift from being judgmental and get curious. Hey, why did I do that? And you're going to begin to explore your karma, your unlearned lessons, the trauma that you haven't reconciled yet, which is what stands in your way from being this ultimate creator that I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that feels complete. That was also a channeled answered message.
Why is it that habitually, as a planet, we take ourselves to the edge of darkness and take a peek before we learn a lesson? Why? And we are doing it right. We've been doing it now for two years.
It's powerful. It's a mechanism that allows us to change quickly.
Why do we have to do that? And not only why do we have to do it, I think that everybody, because there isn't a country on this planet now that hasn't been affected emotionally to the extreme, where I think that now we are starting to understand what real emotion is, right? Mm-hmm. We're starting to figure that out, where before, completely 2D. We all lived through the 80s.
That reptilian mind, that lack of sentience.
Yes.
We've completely desensitized ourselves with modern day society, video games, war, fighting, what we see on TV, what we take in, how we treat ourselves.
Right.
And so the sensitivity is coming back. And this is just what it looks like when we're learning in the construct of duality. However, I do feel like a bunch of people are sick of it.
Yeah,
I can hear the exhaustion in your voice when you're like, why, Emily, do we have to keep doing it this way?
Yes.
Well, that's what we're choosing differently. As we evolve from 3D up into 5D, Jimmy, our baseline frequency, we're not operating out of survival mind, okay, which is where we're operating in 3D. In 5D, our baseline frequency is peace, love, and joy. By the way, the 5D is available all around us right now. It is a choice that we get to frequency match to based on how we choose to feel. What we're experiencing and what we've experienced over the past 2 years is the only way that we can walk through seeing our miscreation, consciously choosing to break it down and create something new. It's just how it works.
But
okay, I'm sorry. I didn't go complete on that. When we move up into 5D and we're at peace, love, and joy, we do learn differently. But here's the difference between those two constructs, and that is 3D. We're still we're competing. We're not observing that there is plenty of abundance, which means a lot of things besides just money, around us at every moment. Once we stop competing for resources and we learn to source within, we move into a state of collaboration, and the learning looks completely different when we are collaborating with each other rather than when we're competing for resources.
Why is it that collectively as a planet, we've all seen this go down? I think we went from 3D, we took a step backwards into 2D land. And everybody recognizes the fighting that they're doing with the divisiveness with their friends, family, co-workers, neighbors. We all recognize that we're doing it, and we fell into that trap quickly, Emily. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like overnight.
There's still a lot of that, what might be considered reptilian influence here on the planet. But again, it's just a level of consciousness where we get to revisit sentience. And what does that show us? It shows us we need work on our emotional bodies.
Now, when can the planet handle? Okay, they've definitely been tested for the last. It's not even 2 years. It's been more like 3 or 4 years. The riots, the craziness that it's still going on today. But can the world handle the sudden paradigm shift of waking up. I mean, isn't that just as much of a shock to the system as everything else?
Well, that's why I'm here, Jimmy. Just come see me when it happens. Yeah, it's a great question. I think that, and the guides are saying right now, it's not really a rapid waking up process. We may have been ignoring the signs that have been here for quite some time. But just like we had the conversation about what happened to both of us when we were 5, environments like this, what we're experiencing right now, it's softening that blow because it's helping us to catch up. As we pause and we remember, I did get a nudge from the universe there. Yep, there was synchronicity right there. It's not really the rapid waking up process. I think we've been prepared.
Do you feel, and I would love to know what your guides have to say about this, that there are forces out there pushing back against this, that they don't want this to happen, that the fear, the media, governments, geopolitics, and the things that are happening today are the pushback from this, right? The media bears a lot of responsibility in this. They could flip the switch right now.
Yeah.
And it's social media and what it has done to the global consciousness. That they could, but they won't. And it just feels to me like there is another side to this that is pushing back.
Well, yeah, because that's the construct we're working in, where it's polar, right? We've got to have contrast. But here's the bigger picture: is that everything is God energy, goddess energy, or let's call it love. Okay, every single thing is the same energy of love, vibrating at a different octave. So even that contrast that is pushing back, it is just God energy vibrating at a particular octave. What do I mean by that? The God mind holds space for all possibility. It's just that pushback is just the manifestation of one aspect of the God mind that allows itself to show up in shadow here on the planet. I know the bigger truth is that it's all happening perfectly, and I don't pay much attention to it.
Right, and here's the other part. Education, we can go back 2,000-3,000 years, it doesn't matter, all the way through to today, we have been taught history in a certain form of dogma that, as it is told and retold, becomes truth. But there are certain things historically now that are starting to reveal itself, and that is Egypt, and that is Göbekli Tepe, and that is parts of our ancient past that are going to be revealed. And then you have the planet going, wait a minute, everything that I've been taught has been wrong. And that's another force that those that have been using this as control are going to lose control of it. Part of it is this show, part of it's the internet, part of it is people talking and sharing information with each other. And that is something that when it goes down, it is going to be dramatic.
Rigid thought really keeps us, tied up in a box where we can't see the truth. I feel like when some of these constructs begin to break down, I don't know if I'm just too Pollyanna, Jimmy. I just see everything is so exciting and get excited about what's possible. I mean, it's like, I don't know if I want to tell that story because I had.
No, now I want you to tell the story. And here's the deal.
Okay, but it's about Santa, and I didn't want to mess that up for any children out there.
Santa. Okay.
When I found out that is part of what we do here on the planet, I was not bummed out at all. I was actually super excited. I felt like I just felt so smug and slick that I had figured out and solved the mystery. That's an option too. We don't have to choose. We don't have to choose the terrible, fearful, crazy outcome. What if we got really excited that they told us the truth and they re-engaged our power and we all got really inspired about what to do with it? That is a possibility too.
Well, see, but yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel that we are on the verge of something so positive and so explosive that's what is going to, we have to go through this negative right now, because at the end of this, we're going to figure out a lot of stuff about ourselves and what the direction of this planet is going to be in the future. I do not feel any different about that. I have been speaking about this for a few years now, and it's tangible. And one of the things is the UAP conversation that is going on right now with disclosure. This is a really, really big deal. It's one of the biggest moments in human history. And if we are starting to digest that now, I think that we can handle a pretty big paradigm shift. And that's where I think that's where we are. It's almost tangible. It's like I can feel it.
I love that you can feel it. I think that it's really important that we recognize that it's an important shift. When I work with other visionaries who want to step into their quantum power, and they have this hunch that they're wisdom keepers, they've got these special gifts, and they come to me and they want to explore in the records what their gifts are. I can't tell you how many of them say the same thing. Well, I don't feel like humanity's ready for this. I can't come out of the closet yet because people aren't ready. That is the worst mindset you can have as somebody who is offering this to humanity. No, we must believe that humanity is ready and that they are calling it forward.
Isn't it, and I want to talk about Egypt more after the break. You mentioned this at the beginning of the show. The fall of Egypt. They went through 2,000 years of pure enlightenment, no war, nothing. 2,000 years of artistic freedom, of exploring the mind and consciousness, and other realms, and not only gods and demigods of Egypt, but the afterlife, and it was all right there. And then just one day, it all went away. And even the Egyptians themselves had nearly immediate amnesia to what they had learned for 2,000 years in the past. And now we've gone through 2,000 years of amnesia and ignoring that and staying with, like you were just saying, money, material things, right? Are we going to recognize what the Egyptians had at one point and those previous cultures? And we start to explore our souls and our consciousness more?
100%. The information is all right there. It's just a matter of us, again, being able to see what was previously unseen. What was coming alive in my field when you were talking about ancient Egypt that I feel like is important is that, so what happened there? Like, why did that fall, right? This is important to note. Ancient Egypt was, and the reason that there was so much flourishing there was it was primarily a matriarchal society where the divine feminine was really holding the power, setting the paradigms. And yet, that's fantastic because the divine feminine can tap into the wisdom and the intuit, that the logical, the masculine, we need that energy too, but doesn't have that same gifting. And yet there was an imbalance of this. And what we need now, we got to have the balance of the masculine and the feminine energy. And if we can get that right, yes, we will not only remember all of the power from ancient Egypt, but we will be able to use it in a way that we finally get it right and we fix our planet. Which, according to the crystal skulls, can be done almost instantaneously with, the right focus and direction of enough human consciousness.
Well, I had said it earlier, I'm okay with myself if I can turn around and say that I'm watching Emily in Paris, right? and we need more of that. And I'm okay with it. And I say that in jest a little bit, but you're absolutely right. You know, we can learn so much from the past, and it's right there, but yet they don't want us to know.
Yeah. But they can't keep it from us anymore.
They can't. They can't.
It's resurfacing. It's resurfacing here, and it can't be stopped.
There is a very interesting aspect to this, and I want to know what you have learned from the Akashic Records when it comes to Egypt, is that at 5,000 years ago, Emily, 5,000 years ago, that culture came out of nowhere. Went from, allegedly, right, tribes in the desert wearing animal skins to the very next day knowing geometry, math, astronomy, astrology, music, art, culture, language, writing, and suddenly they just built a pyramid. Right? They just had this amazing knowledge. No, that knowledge came from somewhere, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. I believe it was gifted to us or brought back by extraterrestrials, by the god beings. Maybe it came in download form, but intuition, definitely came through. Intuition is our ability to know something instantly. Right. So it doesn't surprise me at all that when we turn those skills back on, that we can intuit, that we can shift instantaneously. I think another important and interesting piece to examine in that is, I believe that's also when the grains came along, right?
Yep.
We went for, yeah. And so when you think about how we physicalize nutrition here and how this whole experiment in human biology works, we eat things and then it becomes a part of us. What we were consuming, there was a big shift at that point in time, which altered things as well.
Which brings me to, you can answer this quickly.
Okay.
Is Emily, this is in Twitter, are you a vegan or vegetarian?
Oh, my son and my 18-year-old and I made a weird pact on December 13th, ironically or synchronistically, 3:33 p.m. We were talking about plant-based, and all of a sudden we were like, you want to go vegan for the next year? Yeah. And I'm like, we were both kind of hesitant. I'm like, okay, shake on it. And then we both shook on it. And I looked down, I'm like, all right. Oh, wow. It's December 13th, 3:33. So I'm a vegan right now.
There you go. Question answered. Let's take our break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Emily Harrison, discussing the Akashic Records. We're going to pick up where we're leaving off after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Emily Harrison is here. We're talking about the Akashic Records. And I have got, okay, I want to shift this just a little bit. And I wanted to talk about Egypt, but we're going to get back to that. Okay. But two questions. First one. How, when somebody comes to you for the first time, or an audience member that's listening to this now, what somebody's going to say, how do I do this? How does somebody access the Akashic Records?
The way I take people into the Akashic Records is a unique method that was gifted to me by my guides. And it's basically a little shamanic journey. We do some breath work. We move some energy. I bring some visualization in. We do some oming. And I take you into the records. For some people, they feel a lot of energy moving in their body, or they'll see colors. Everyone's experience is unique. Some people don't feel a lot of anything. But the energy is working regardless of how you're processing it. The next step is to trust the information that's coming in. So we extract information from the Akashic Records by asking questions. When we ask the questions, it becomes really important that you pay attention to what's going on in your mind, in your field, in your awareness. Sometimes it's cognitive words that feels like a message. Sometimes it's unexplainable symbology, but something is happening. And your job is to just perceive, is to be aware. Now, I've worked in this space in depth, so it's very easy for me to get cognitive information that I can translate as a message to the person. But truly, me reading your records, it's pointless. It's not pointless. It's more important for you to read your own records because they're your soul records. And any information that I'm going to be able to interpret is going to come through my experience anyway. So it may or may not fully connect. I mean, generally, like I said, I've gotten good at this, so I can find the connection points, but it's way better for each person to learn how to do this themselves because there are so many incredible applications of being able to tap infinite intelligence, superconscious intelligence, the God mind. How freaking great is it to have that at your disposal for making major life decisions, for understanding why you're stuck or where you need healing? For this, I really love using it to uncover advanced creativity. This is a realm that Nikola Tesla, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein all purposefully accessed and learned how to extract information. And every human on the planet has the ability to do that. So wouldn't you rather do that yourself?
Well, okay. Can some have access to the Akashic Records? They're there, but be totally oblivious as to what they are saying or doing.
Yeah, sort of. Here's the thing. Everyone is interacting with the Akash. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the difference between the Akash, the Akashic field, and the Akashic Records. Okay? Akash energy, Akash is a Sanskrit word for ether. It means primordial energy. This is in essence the field that is all around us. It's Akash. And the Akash is constantly interacting with us wherever we are. So every single person is using the Akash anyway. And when we are not conscious of this, we're interacting in a very asleep sort of way, in a very unconscious sort of way. But we are still interacting with the Akash. What does that look like? Here's an example that I give. Let's say you got up late, you're rushing out the door, everyone's cutting you off in traffic, you're super frustrated, you're like, why is everybody cutting me off today? And then what happens? You get an answer in your mind that is probably blaming it because everybody and their grandma is out today and you're mad. The answer meets is a match to the vibrational frequency to which we ask. And it's all our higher self talking to us anyway, so it feels like we're talking to ourselves anyway. So we've actually missed in that moment that we've had an interaction with the Akash. We think we're just pissed off and going about life and talking to ourselves.
Right.
There's really something much more magical happening here. Now, when we wake up to the fact that we're using the field or the Akash and we're purposely going into the record, the Akashic record is where data becomes recorded. And so we move our consciousness into the records to extract specific information that we're looking for that will be helpful to us for whatever next step of our mission, whatever piece of our life that we're working on. So the Akashic field we're interacting with all of the time. The Akashic field is also what is responsible for arranging or rearranging the space-time matrix to allow us to experience whatever possibility we're calling forward. But it's all working so quickly and magically and invisibly that we don't necessarily see that happening. When we get conscious about what we want to create and maybe go into the Akashic records to seek intelligence, purposefully, consciously, ceremoniously, and make get a clear plan on what we want to experience in our life, we in essence get a map of a timeline. We get a map. Yes, when you learn to read the records very clearly, and I love helping people do this, it's a map that can be step-by-step reverse engineered to create the life you want. But for people just starting out, the map is simply an emotional frequency that you feel. You feel loved. You feel at home. You feel excited in this possibility when you think of yourself in this timeline, or expressing yourself in a higher octave that you're expressing in now. Just that feeling inside of you begins to draw that potentiality into you. It begins to inform the Akashic field how to rearrange space-time to respond to this feedback loop that you're creating. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay.
It does. Okay, so then what about stepping outside of yourself, let's say, and use it more for information outside of yourself? Maybe I'm writing a book on ancient Egypt. Can I use the Akashic Records, not for myself, but to try and find out how the pyramids, who built the pyramids, for instance?
Yes. However, it'll be really beneficial for you to understand that all of the work that is done and the information that drops in for you is going to happen on your own microcosm. Okay? Everything on the planet can be healed. All of the socioeconomic crap that we are experiencing right now can actually be healed if we find within our own self where a certain opportunity or template exists. So just for example, if you are in extreme judgment over somebody telling you that you need to get vaxxed, the judgment is actually showing you an area within yourself, or it's inviting you to see the area within yourself where you're still judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all of the work is done. So yes, you can tap into this goal and mission to bring forward truth and tap the records for truth on what happened during ancient Egypt. But in order to get that, you'll have to go through your own hero's journey of whatever your soul needs to learn and understand about why that information has been blocked from you, why you felt like you didn't deserve it. It's going to bring up the shit from your childhood about why I didn't deserve this and that, and these generational karmic energies that we're being required to move into completion. So however you choose to express yourself or to explore your consciousness, if for you, let's say it's writing this book on ancient Egypt, if that becomes your vehicle for consciousness expansion, you're still going to do the work on your own microcosm, and it's going to bring all of your personal shit up. And until you deal with your personal shit, you're not going to get more of the ancient Egyptian knowledge and information that you want. It's going to feel blocked.
Well, what if I choose, and I've talked about this so much, Emily, don't laugh at me.
Okay.
But what if I choose not to fix my issues, right? What if I'm okay with my issues and I only want to focus on the future, and I consciously have chosen to leave that stuff buried?
Well, I mean, you have that right to do so, but it'll continue to reinvent itself in other ways until you look at it.
I want to write that book on ancient Egypt, right? And I want to take the easy path. I don't want to. And I want to walk down those rows of file cabinets and pull open the one that has the location of Atlantis, right? I don't want to deal with my hero's journey. I just want to access that file cabinet where Atlantis is located, so I can get a boat with some friends and we can go out and find this place, right? And is that for personal gain? Is that why that may be impossible?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say without knowing the specific circumstance that you're wanting to hold on to. I don't know. Maybe it's still benefiting your soul in some form or fashion. But my hunch is no. Like we we have to be willing to look at ourselves and to self-course correct in order to prove that we're worthy of the knowledge. I don't really love that terminology. I feel like that came in from them, but I feel like we can all sort of understand it because we're all worthy, yet when you talk about like how do you understand this information, there's something really beautiful that happens if you're willing to get vulnerable with yourself and do the work. I don't know. New neural pathways get created in the brain where you get to understand things at a higher level.
Yes, and I totally get that. And I brought up Göbekli Tepe earlier, and this is a good point to bring up something like this. Why I am so interested in history. Well, Göbekli Tepe, you may or may not know about. That's not what's important.
Of course I know about
Okay. And we're going to talk about your guides in just a second. But that's a complete mystery. Göbekli Tepe just shows up. It's apparently been built 7,000 years before Giza, and we know nothing. They deliberately buried it for us. We've uncovered it. There it is, just like the day it was built, and it's beautiful, the entire complex. And we're finding out more and more every day. But we don't know anything. It's not part of the historical record. Göbekli Tepe wasn't supposed to exist. So that's when I say, why can't I get to the Akashic Records and find out why it's there, what's its purpose, who built it, and everything about it historically, because we don't have anything historically to speak about it.
Well, man, your guides are they're hammering you. They're going back to, why are you so scared of facing the shit that you've buried? Like, you've got to be willing to uncover the shit that you've buried and look at it and understand its purpose and mechanism, because everything here works on that holographic connection. But that's how humans get to do the work.
But what if I'm perfect? What if I'm the Dalai Lama and I don't have anything to go and fix?
Okay. Then what? What was the question then?
Can I find out about Göbekli Tepe? I need to write that book. This is what I find so interesting about the Akashic Records, is that I know that the information is there. The history has all been recorded. It's there. It's magnetically stored. It's everywhere. And it's part of our memories. It's part of our subconscious. And I believe that there is a way to access all of this through the Akashic Records and get to the real facts of history that we need to know about.
Yeah, I would love to take you into your records, create that sacred space for you, not tell you what I see coming in. This is your job to interpret the information as it's coming in for you and see what comes through. You just have to play with your imagination. Although my hunch still is, Jimmy, you may be able to get the information and write the book, but if you don't do the internal work, there would likely be blocks in how that book would express itself. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't express itself. Nothing that you create will express itself in the highest octave if you don't express yourself in the highest octave. So you can create whatever you want. However, it can express on a lot of different octaves. I'm actually all of the essence of Emily, the storyteller, and that showed up in Hollywood, the spiritual parts of me, the curious parts of me, the rebellious parts of me, all of that shows up here in this new timeline. It's just showing up at a higher octave. It's still all my soul expression. But it's because I've chosen to do the work on myself.
I want to go back. Somebody may, okay. This is from David, kind of what we're talking about now, but he wrote this an hour ago. Now listen to this. Listen to this. Is the blueprint directions for the Great Pyramid contained in the Akashic Records? Can we find it again, and how do we do it?
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to be in the environment where you trust the guide to create the vibrational frequency, and then you trust yourself to receive what's coming through, which is easier said than done. Humans have a lot of trust issues, but that's what we're working on. But yeah, absolutely. And it gets so exciting to explore.
Now, how do you know? How do you know when? Let's get to your guides for a second. How do you know when this information is coming in? Are you at a first name basis
with my guides?
Yes.
Yeah, some of them, most of them. If I want to know, okay. Well, this is a great question. So we talk about guides, right? And there are certain ascended masters that everyone's familiar with names. There are certain archangels that we could all connect with because we understand through the same lexicon and the same storyline. Again, why story is so important. But here's the real truth. Story and Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and Ascended Master Yeshua or Melchizedek, the Merlin energy, these are all just personifications, different aspects of God energy. We are all God. We are just agreeing to experience these different personifications or these different energy signatures through a storyline so we can have, again, this common lexicon to communicate. It's all you. It's all your higher self. It's all you incarnating as all of these different roles. We're all actors playing all of these roles. And that's why I said, too, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. We didn't talk a lot about past lives, but, past lives can be really interesting to explore. But the question comes up, is that really true?
Yes.
Well, does it matter if it's true? It's the power of the story that changes you. What did you get from the story? How did you see yourself differently? How did you think differently?
Well, with okay, let's stay on the guides. I don't know what you're doing in the morning, but I have the feeling this conversation's not going to end in 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask you now if I can keep you on for a few more minutes after this next break.
Yeah, can I stay? I am having so much fun.
Okay, good.
I was going to ask you too, but I didn't want to impose. But I was like, you're going to have to kick me out, man.
That's right. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have to kick me out. The ability to connect with your guides, for you, it appears to me, because I've been watching you tonight, that it is instantaneous. You're not reaching out. This is a constant flow of information for you.
For the most part, I can get in my own way as a human, where I'm judging myself or I'm going through a life circumstance or experience that makes me particularly irritable, or, because I'm like I said, I'm doing a lot of work on myself constantly, always examining areas where I can know myself, understand my patterns, be more mindful in what I choose so I'm not reactive. Yet I'm growing in a lot of areas of my life that make me irritable, and I notice like I'm reactive. Right? So when I get to a place where I'm charged or reactive, I don't have the same level of connection. I can act like an asshole for a second.
Right.
But then I realize, oh, hang on a second, you lost your connection here. And I can instantly tap back in.
Now, what about, and I'm not in any way being cavalier. You're at the supermarket, you're pushing the shopping cart, you reach for something. Do your guides interrupt and go, put that back?
No. I make great food choices.
Do the guides interrupt with life decisions like that, though, as you go on throughout your day?
It's interesting that you use the word interrupt. I wouldn't say that they interrupt. I would say there's a constant flow, and I love seeking higher wisdom and being very mindful about my choices. So I feel like I've cultivated the habit of checking in, but there's definitely a time in my life when I can remember that I leapt before I looked. Right? And so if you are at that stage of growth, and sometimes it's important to revisit those stages, like just be willing to jump and trust that if the guides need to make you aware of something that you've missed, that they will. But most of the time, Jimmy, the guides and the records work this way. They work by what's known as invitation only, which means we must invite the information that we're seeking forward. And because of free will here on the planet, this is probably more, this is good stuff. Yeah, because of free will here on the planet, they don't necessarily jump in and interrupt if we're already moving down we've made a choice in moving down a timeline, because there's something that our soul needs to learn. But if we ask, then what happens is, for me, what it looks like is, if I'm going to make a life decision, I ask, and then it's like I see rapid fire what the different potentialities are, and then I choose which one's best for me.
Interesting. And that answered my question directly. Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. Let's take our break right here. We're going to go into overtime next. Emily Harrison is our guest. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the NX and Game Changer Networks. I'll be right back after this short break. Overtime is next. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Linda Moulton Howe, Jacques Vallée, Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, Sarah Breskman-Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your Jimmy Church. It is overtime. You guys saw this coming. Nobody's surprised. Overtime with Emily Harrison. And Emily, when we get to overtime, I like to loosen up a little bit. And
yeah, after hours.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's after hours. And I want to talk about past lives.
Okay.
And the reason for that is not everybody can be Cleopatra, right? Not everybody can be King Arthur.
It's really interesting because more than one person can.
Okay, hold on. We're going to circle back to that.
Okay.
I have never wanted to explore that part of myself because I think of a couple of movies. And one of them, like Defending Your Life, right? Albert Brooks. And so he goes to the Past Lives Pavilion and sees himself, he's being hunted, right? Okay. And I've always kind of felt that way about myself, that I would find out that I was, homeless on the streets of London, living in mud, right? And I don't know if I want to find that out about myself. I don't think I was King Arthur. But explain to me what you just said. More than one person could be Cleopatra? How does that work?
It's so fascinating. When I was going through my Akashic Record training, my teacher had mentioned in class that she had been told by other spiritual seers, visionaries, that she had past life energy of the Buddha. And I got so excited. And in my mind, I'm thinking, dude, if have been the Buddha in a past life, because I was so turned on by the Akashic Records information and everything she was teaching. Of course, she was the Buddha to me. And I'm like, why don't you let people know this? And she was a little comme ci, comme ça about it. She's like, I didn't really pay too much attention. And I just couldn't believe that she didn't want to know more about this. And so I asked her, like, why doesn't this excite you? And she said, just go into your records and ask about past lives and, see what you get. Ask your own records. Don't ask me. So I went into the records. I'm like, all right, what's the deal with past life? What's the deal with being Buddha? I had run onto a couple of people who I thought were complete whacks that had told me that they were reincarnations of Jesus. So I asked my records, and this is what they tell me. Okay. So beautiful, because we've spoken about this previously, so you'll have some context. It's not past life and future life, first of all. It's all happening all at the same time, all at once. So if we look at that kind of totality, what that tells us is that there are all of these different agreed upon storylines that have been played out over Earth span, all of these records kept, right? And so what happens is when one of these storylines is being played out, it's like it's a big audition, right? They always need a soul to play Jesus. They always need a soul to play Mother Mary. They always need a Napoleon. I believe that we incarnate through or experience either a lot of these ascended masters and godlike beings we've actually experienced. Remember, I talked about right now on Earth, we're being invited to see this convergence of timelines where we gather all of our skills and our knowledge and everything that we've remembered from past lives. So it's really interesting to look at maybe at different points in time, our souls have traded all of these different roles and we've played through some of these big archetype characters. But whether they're the big archetype roles or they are the smaller roles where you're the farmer or you're the homeless person, the purpose is to gather a collection of knowledge and experience as a soul and bring it all into a place where we can access that in the now moment.
But how do you but how do you differentiate from that to somebody who comes away feeling that they are or they were, for instance, Cleopatra or Jesus, and instead of playing a role, but they come away with it saying this, verbalizing this, saying, I was Jesus.
I think for me, you mean like what would I think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the individual that comes away definitively feeling that they were Cleopatra or Jesus, as opposed to playing or being part of a role, a convergence.
Soul understands this with a very high level of consciousness, and let me not create hierarchy or make it feel like it's out of reach, because what that high level of consciousness actually is a deep desire to truly know oneself and to love oneself and to be able to course correct. I mean, there's a sincerity, there's a pureness of heart, right? And so when we seek intelligence or a storyline that we can connect with from a past life like Cleopatra, what happens is if a soul is sincerely seeking for the purpose of remembering, re-embodying some aspect of themselves that's important right now, and depending on how we have the ability to express that, I think it can become very intriguing rather than so crazy. But again, it requires a high level of discernment of how we get to show up and share this information.
You had said earlier that you were, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you were a scribe or
yeah.
Explain that. And how did you find that out?
Original scribe of the Akashic Records.
Yes. Yeah.
I was doing a past life, exploration, and this is what began to pop into my imagination. And then I didn't really get it or understand it. And it's still, I'll tell you the pieces that I understand. It still feels a little above my pay grade to really get all of the pieces.
Sure.
But similar to how we talk about the progenitor race, or who actually programmed or constructed in this matrix and then seeded this reality, I get it, but it seems like, oh, that's a little bit of stretch out there. I saw myself similarly helping to imbibe consciousness into a construct known as the Akashic Records that could be used as a very important piece of quantum technology to help civilizations all throughout the universe. I also saw a specific connection to a past life as the Oracle of the Sphinx, and I believe that there is underneath the Sphinx perhaps libraries that will be uncovered where there may well be either tablets in crystalline form or in some kind of hieroglyphics that contain what we would think of as physical Akashic records. And so I feel I had a past life memory of being the Oracle of the Sphinx, and it was really funny. The confirmation that I got was my dad used to call me Goose as like a nickname. And I happened to be sharing synchronistically with another soul who has had an incarnation as Yeshua and is willing to talk about what that was like and not sound super crazy. So I'm having this conversation with this woman, and I said, I think I had a past life of as the Oracle of the Sphinx, and she knew that my dad had called me Goose because she actually called me Goose. I called her Chief. We had pet names for each other. And all of a sudden she goes, Emily, Goose, great Oracle of the Sphinx, Emily.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, interesting and beautiful that, my dad had given me that moniker, and then it came to have symbolic meaning for me later. Did I make all of that up? Did I find the pattern? Fuck, maybe. But who cares? If it allows me to see myself as an empowered being who is here to impart intelligence information and not afraid to share it with the planet, fucking great.
Right. When you have, I find this so interesting. When you have this, I'm going to say explore, right? You're exploring this and you're looking into this. Are you able to, I don't want to say a definitive linear time span, but are you seeing it that way too as well? Are you seeing it historically? Are you seeing the environment around you? Are you able to place a timeline into this?
Yes. It doesn't always show up that way.
Right.
But if I want to see it that way, I do have the gift of vision where I can begin to explore. And so what that looks like would be I start to imagine that I'm looking around within my mind's eye. And that's where that game of improv comes in. Okay, if you were looking down at your feet and you were seeing what was up, what do you see? And you're not allowed to say nothing. Otherwise, you get kicked out of groundling class. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not allowed to say nothing. So I was trained in this way that allowed me to trust and play with my imagination. And so, yes, I can flip those different switches on if my records are not communicating with me, let's say through clairvoyance, clear inner vision. Because sometimes they'll communicate with clairaudience. There's claircognizance, there's clairsentience. There are different, in our psychic senses, those are intuitive senses that help us to perceive the subtle energy world. And as we begin to do this work, all of those different faculties up level, but most people have a primary or dominant sense as they're starting.
How profound when you see, something like that, like, the Oracle of the Great Sphinx, or going back to Lemuria or Atlantis, to these. How profound is that? Is it scary? Is it too much to handle?
No, I think it's exciting. It's a bit of a mind trip. You kind of like, is this real?
Right. That's my question.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's got to be profound. And do you ever question your own sanity at that point?
In the beginning, I don't know that I questioned my sanity, but I did. Emily, is all of this bullshit? Like, what if all of this is really bullshit and we're trying to turn people bullshit?
Right.
And that's where this knowingness of, it doesn't matter if it is or not. We're all sharing a common story. We're all sharing a common dream. This is how the matrix works, is we're all projecting into it. When we understand that we incarnate here to experience ourselves as God, then we give ourselves permission to experience ourselves as God through creating and accepting whatever story is meaningful to us or valuable to us. And we disregard the stories or false belief systems that are no longer valuable to us.
Was this knowledge brought here from elsewhere? Right? Or do we evolve as a species and grow into this knowledge? Or are we going to find out when ET starts to reveal themselves that all of this was a gift and was brought from somewhere else?
What I'm hearing right now, it's kind of all true. What I really resonate with is the idea that we're all creating it and we've agreed to create it together. Yeah, it's all being created now and in these present moments. I wish they would give me something a little better for you around that. We're all showing up and participating in creating it right now. And that's really it. You can look at it like they're bringing it here. But perhaps it's more empowering to look at what role you are specifically playing in allowing this knowledge to come back into awareness. Okay, whether you're going to take the storyline of, oh, the aliens and these beings are bringing this intelligence back. Oh, I guess I get to receive the intelligence. So that's the role that I get to play in this is the receiving of the intelligence and being in awe that these God beings brought it back to me. But it's all here as well.
Yeah, and I find that interesting, and certainly. Speaking with Ruben about this and others, Daryl Anka, for example, is amazing, and I get to hang out with him again in a couple of weeks, and I so look forward to that. But I don't know where the information is coming from. If it's coming from the other side of the universe, Daryl is channeling a being that is in orbit, right now above planet Earth, in his starship. But that when we talk about entanglement, and you've heard me, discuss this at length with Ruben, is that what is going on in real time, or is this part of us right here around us, and that it is just here? And we aren't necessarily speaking to or connecting with a being or a light being that is a million light years away, from planet Earth. Where do you think this information is coming from? Is it immediately around you? Ask your guides right now.
Yeah,
where
it is.
are
Okay,
they?
so it's again, it's both. And the construct of where is it coming from in the universe is just the agreed upon storyline that we all get to experience. Coming from another place in the universe, what my guides are telling me right now is that allows us to perceive intelligence that has had experience outside of this time-space construct that we might deem as worthy to receive, because it's coming from someplace far, far mystical, magical away that must have some really great. But it's all us. Again, it's all God. We are all parts of a very grand experiment of consciousness becoming aware of itself. Daryl Anka, the being in the ships that Daryl is
channeling, yes.
It's all part of this agreed upon storyline. There's a dodecahedron. There's an actual shape around planet Earth that allows us to experience this. So that's how it's happening all around us. But this, the Native Americans talked about that dodecahedron. It's a collective morphic field that we all share, and we project consciousness or thought into this field, which creates the agreed upon storylines through which we experience ourselves, or through which consciousness agrees to experience itself.
Now, can you have an agreed upon storyline and still have free will?
Yes, it makes things interesting because we always, okay, here's another way to say it. We can actually rewrite the Akashic Records. Not only do we have the opportunity to go in and read them, but we have the opportunity to interact and to write them, rewrite them in real time, which is why we see things like the Mandela effect happening.
Right. I mean, you read my mind. I mean, okay, so the Mandela effect, is that an example? I mean, because millions of people can't be crazy. Millions of people cannot be crazy or have faulty memories, right? So is that an example of different timelines merging for a second? Are we stepping in and out of another timeline where in that other timeline it was how we remembered it, but now all of a sudden we're here and our memory is from the other timeline where something was different?
I think you can look at it that way, absolutely. As our consciousness expands, we have the ability to experience this jumping of timelines, this morphing of timelines, and this is how the evidence presents itself. So we say, oh man, what went on there? And we get curious to explore.
Have you had your own Mandela effect where you went, oh, holy crap, no, that is not the way it happened?
I feel like I do, and it's not dropping in this moment. I had a really crazy altering of time-space continuum that was very unexplainable in the moment, and I knew that it was happening.
What was it? I only have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Please share that with me.
I was skiing with my family in the Tahoe National Forest, and the family had gotten passes, so we've been many times, and we stayed on the mountain all day. We never even went into the lodge. And one day, kids out-skied me, and my husband at the time and I were walking into the lodge. First time we had ever been into the lodge. We still had, we left our equipment outside, but we were still fully dressed. We walk into the lodge, we look down, there's a huge black glove laying right in the middle of the floor. We both notice it. I'm thinking, do I need to pick that up and set it where somebody can see it? Oh, who's going to miss it? A huge black glove right there. We go up to the bar. We order drinks. We take all of the ski equipment off. As Mike brings our drinks over and we sit down, he goes, where's my glove? And we both look at each other like, could that have been your glove down there? I'm like, go see if that was your glove down there. He goes, it couldn't have been my glove. We walked in with all of our equipment on. But yet, wherever we had jumped in time, the glove was missing. So he walked back down, picked up the glove, and it was his glove. It was an exact match to the glove, the same make and model, everything. The only thing that was different was the palm of the glove was ripped, and whatever portal of space-time that this glove went through, that was, little rip on the palm of the glove. We're like, oh, that must have happened. It went through the portal. But it was nuts. Like we sat and looked at each other like,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So that's better than mine.
Convergences happening in the now moment. So I didn't necessarily have a memory of something being different. it was like I was recognizing, oh, there's a shift in time, space, reality happening right now.
Yeah. Kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he sees the black cat, you know, walk by, and you have that moment. That's incredible. Mine, I'm out of time, but mine, I'll just get to the simple version of it. The space shuttle disaster happened for me in 1985. And I know exactly when and where and why and who I was with that day. Well, come to find out, on this show, when we were discussing the Mandela effect a few years ago, when, you know, it first started to surface, and we were talking about, you know, the space shuttle, and I looked it up, and it was in 1986. That was like, no, it wasn't. And so I bring this up on the air, and suddenly my email is full, and I'm watching the other comments from other people saying I was in whatever, right? I was in 5th grade science class when that happened in 1985. I wasn't in 6th grade in 1986. You're right. Now, as crazy as that sounds for me to say out loud, I can't change the facts of the case. Mm-hmm. Right? I know where I was, and I absolutely remember that day. And then to come to find out that it happened a year later at a completely different point in time of my life, I still can't explain it. I can't. Oh, and I can't explain the hundreds of emails that I got too as well.
Wow. I remember that happened when I was in the 3rd grade. I don't know what year that was. I'd have to do some calculations, but I remember being in the 3rd grade.
Okay. Now, see, go and look that up.
Okay.
And let's talk tomorrow. So 3rd grade. Okay, so you know you were in 3rd grade. I
was in the 3rd grade.
You weren't in the 4th grade. You weren't in the 2nd grade. You were in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, because I remember, very specifically what class I was in, and the teacher that ran up to shut the TV off when things went bad.
Yeah. I had a very specific. Oh man, I've got 10 seconds left. The network's going to cut us off. Let me just say this: the AkashicAcademy.com. Everybody head over there. Everybody can reach out to you there, Emily.
Yes, get on our email list. There'll be a pop-up that comes up where you can make sure that you stay connected. If I had to point you in any direction on that website, go check out the free resources. Explore and play. There's so much fun stuff for you all there. Free intelligence just to dive into.
Thank you so much, Emily. What a great night tonight. I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to let everybody know, Emily and I have already talked about this, by the way, Emily in Paris. That is some synchronistic stuff that I brought that up today. It was just kind of strange.
Very synchronistic.
I'm going to bring Emily back, and we're going to do an Akashic night with the audience and myself. Okay, and I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Emily. Behave and be well and be safe. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jimmy.
Great show tonight. Thank you, Emily. And we just went bumper to bumper, pole to pole. I've got to get straight to the credits before the network cuts me off. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, the 2022 Conscious Life Expo special event with Serena Wright-Taylor and Susan Slaughter. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.